Just a hair too long. Perfect. Dust collection. It's something that we've all had to deal with. Whether you have a big shop, small shop, you're just a weekend hobbyist or a semi-professional hobbyist, you've had to deal with dust collection at some point in time. And when you did, I'm sure you realize it's a little bit more complicated than just hooking up a vacuum and being done with it. Now, my first dust collection system was probably like pretty much where everyone else started. I just took a shop vac, hooked it up to whatever piece of equipment I was using, turned it on, and there it was. It works, but it's a nightmare because the shop vac is always in your way. You're always hooking it up, disconnect it, moving around. It's a nightmare. So I moved to a central shop vac situation. I didn't do much research into it. I watched a couple of videos and thought I had a good idea. And that's when I got all this. My idea was just get this Crinkle Flex hose, run it all around my shop, hook it up to one central vac, and that should work, right? It didn't at all. It was garbage. And I really didn't understand why, because it's a hose. You hook it up to a vacuum, turn it on, it should work, right? Now, the original idea of this video was to go in a whole lot of detail about why that system didn't work and what I need to get and what you should get and why you need to get it and approve it and all this other stuff. Now, I did a ton of research and I started writing a script for this video. This is the script. Look at it. It goes on forever. I even have a whole reference page I was going to put in there. I was going to go into volume, pressure, density, resistance, speed resistance, surface resistance, high pressure versus low pressure. It just goes on and on and on and on. But as I was writing this, there's no way to make it slightly entertaining. It's so boring. And I'm sure you didn't come here for a physics lesson. You probably just came here because you want to know which system to buy and how to hook it up and make it work. And that's what I'm going to show you. And I'm going to show you a little bit of testing just to prove why you need to go that direction. So let's just get into this. Now, the first part is the most important part. Which system do you get? Do you get a shop vac like this, which is a high pressure, low volume, or do you get a stand-up dust collection, which is a low pressure, high volume? Now, this is the most important part because they are not interchangeable. Now, they will not work efficiently if you get them wrong. Now, how you choose which one you need is all depending on the size of holes you have. Now, the holes I'm talking about are the dust ports on all of your equipment. Like this, on my miter saw, it's a small hole. Table saw, small hole. Sander, small hole. Planer, small hole. Now, the small holes means small volume. So you need a high amount of pressure sucking through those tiny little holes to get the volume out. So that's why you need a high pressure, low volume system, which is a shop vac. Now, this applies to most small shops who have smaller equipment like job site saws, a little miter saws, some more basic level equipment. Now, on the opposite end, if you have higher end equipment that has 3 to 4 inch dust ports or even dual dust ports, that means a lot of volume can go through there. So you want a high volume, low pressure system. So that is one of those stand-up dust collection systems that you see in like a lot of big shops. That's what you need there. Now, the plumbing and tubing is where I made my first mistake, thinking this stuff would work. Now, there's a reason you don't see this stuff plumbed all over professional shops, because you have to take into account of all that restriction down through there, which is going to ruin your airflow. Think of it as driving down a highway. If you're driving down a nice, smooth highway, you can do whatever speed you want. But if you're driving down a highway and there's 1,000 speed bumps all the way down the highway, just like there is in this, you have to go much, much slower and you're going to lose all of your efficiency. Not only that, is if you have this plumbed all over your shop, most likely you have it twisted in many different directions like that, just trying to make it work and fit in your machines. You're also losing efficiency that way, which is why the best thing to do with a shop vac is plumb it with some nice smooth PVC piping. But now if you're using a larger shop dust collection system, which runs off of low pressure, you'd want to use that sheet steel ducting, which is like 4 to 6 inches wide. But like I said, for me, I need to use high pressure, low volume, which means I want to use this 2-inch PVC piping. Now, my second big mistake I made on my first dust collection system is I cheaped out on my blast gates. I got these plastic pieces of junk. Please do not get these. Now, the reason you don't want to get these are, if you could see right down in there, there's sawdust that gets locked in the groove of where this slides up and down. And after about 3 minutes, these fill up and you cannot close them anymore. And if you can't close a blast gate, it makes your whole entire system pointless. So you have to get these good metal ones. Now, unfortunately, these are about 15 bucks on Amazon for the 2.5-inch ones, and the price goes up the larger they get. So don't be like me and try to cheap out and buy some cheap blast gates, because that's just gonna ruin your whole entire central vac system, which is gonna be a huge waste of your time and money in the first place. Just get the good ones. It is a bit of an investment, but it will pay off. Before we start hooking everything up, I want to do some testing. So this is an anemometer. It tests wind speeds. So we're going to test the speed of wind going through the source right here, and then we're going to test it going through a 10-foot section of the crinkle hose and then 10-foot section of PVC pipe. So at peak, from the source, we're running about 15 meters per second. Now let's test it with 10 foot of crinkle hose. So that was about 11.5, 11.7. It was a pretty drastic fall in just a straight line of crinkle hose. Now let's test it on a straight line of PVC piping. See, so the difference between the crinkle hose and a PVC pipe is huge. There was almost no dip in efficiency with the PVC pipe. So that's why we're going to use a PVC pipe. So there's one more test I want to do before we go ahead and start hooking all this stuff up. And that's with this. Now, most people already know what this is. It's just a dust separation system. You hook it up before your shop vac. The dust comes into here. This separates it, air comes through here, and it saves the life of your filter in your shop vac. It's a very nice system. I'm not going to do a test on this between the other ones because that's been done to death, and it's been proven that they're pretty much all the same. You just basically buy one, whichever one you prefer. Now, one test I haven't seen done that well is, does this reduce the suction from your shop vac? So I'm going to do a quick test with this connected and without it. And if this does kill the suction from the vacuum, then I'm going to have to make the decision of what's more important to me: high pressure suction or saving the life of the filter. So let's do that test real quick. So we already established that the air intake at the source is around 15 meters per second. So now I have this 20-foot hose hooked directly up to the shop vac, and we're going to test the wind speed coming directly out of here without the dust collector. So at peak, that was just a little over 11. Now let's hook up the dust collector, see where it's at. The dust collector is fully empty as well. So with the dust separator, it did drop down more. It did peak out. I saw a 9 in there, but now I have to decide what's more important to me. Do I want the added suction without the dust separator, and I'm going to lose life on the filters, or do I want the added life on the filters, but I'm going to lose suction? And I think for me, I want the added suction just because I'm going to have piping running all over the shop, and it's going to be pretty decent length, and I think that small percentage of a decrease in suction is going to have a drastic effect on the rest of the system. So now that I just got back from my third trip to Home Depot, I think I have everything I need to get this installed. So now all there's left to do is just put it together. I don't remember why I did this. It's like, oh, because I want to have a hose. Ah. Okay, so if you're running the same kind of system I am, and you're doing a high pressure, low volume system, and you're running a 2.5-inch blast gate and a 2-inch PVC piping, you're going to run into one little small issue. The PVC piping is the exact same size of this opening, so it's going to sit perfectly right on top of it. But the blast gate is just a hair too big. So how I fixed it was I just took a wire wheel on a drill attachment, and I honed out the inside of where the connection is going to be on the blast gate, and it fits perfectly. It took about maybe 1 minute per piece I was honing out, so it's not a big deal. But now with that, it is very, very roughed up on the inside. So what I'm going to do is actually run a bead of caulk around this just to make sure it's absolutely sealed up so no air pressure is lost. Now I'm sure I probably don't need it, especially after you like hit this on there a couple times with a hammer. I'm sure it's gonna be a nice tight seal, but let's just be safe than sorry. Man, this thing's starting to look like Frankenstein going up through here. Okay, so this is something I'm not particularly happy with, but it is what it is. So see how it's sticking out from the wall? There's nothing I could really do about that because these blast gates kind of protrude a little bit and they stick out, which pushes this whole entire thing out. So I can't see it like firmly against the wall, but and it is what it is, and I'm just going to keep going with it. Okay, so I'm done. That was probably one of the easiest one-day builds that had the greatest impact in my shop. Couple things I want to point out. I did try to put all of the blast gates as close to the source as I could. It works out pretty well in my shop because most of my work gets done over here and they're very easy access. It might be a little bit different in your shop. Do what works best for you. But I really tried focusing them all as close to the source of the vacuum as I could. And another thing I did caulk up and seal all of the connections all the way down the lines. I don't really know if that's overkill or not, but I wanted to be on the safe side, so I did just seal them all up because the last thing I want to do is find out that I'm losing pressure or losing suction through all the cracks and everything, so take care of it now. My favorite thing though is this. I love it because I do most all of my big work over here in this area. I'll make a quick makeshift table so I could put large things down over here. But the problem is I always used to have to get my vacuum from way over there, drag it over here, hook the hose up, run an extension cord. I would have cords all over the place. It would be a mess. Now I have this one central line coming all the way over. I could put it away when I'm not using it, but when I need it, just swing it around and I could drop the hose right down, hook the sander up, hook a planer up, hook whatever I need up. This was super simple, but there's one thing I really do need to do, and I need to test the suction on that. So right now there's 20 foot of line going all the way across, hooking up to a 20-foot hose. I don't know if that's going to completely kill the suction, but we're going to test it. Now, if you remember, when I had the 20-foot hose hooked directly up to the vacuum, we were getting around 11.8, almost getting up to 12 pound or 12 meters per second of airflow. So let's see what we're running through 20 foot of piping mixed with 20 foot of hose. But also now one thing I was concerned about by hooking this hose up 20 plus feet away from my vacuum was I don't want to stop everything I'm doing, walk all the way over there, turn it off to walk all the way back. So I ended up getting a remote. It's just a plug-in remote. Watch. What? That's so cool. Now the only problem is it's only going to take me like a week to lose this thing. But back to the test. Remember, it was around 11.8, so let's test what this is running. Everybody needs to get one of these. So as you saw, it was peaking out around 8.1. So that is a loss of about 4 meters per second. Now that is pretty significant, but for what I do over here, what I need it for, it's gonna be just fine. Because about 90% of what I do over on this side of the shop with big things where I need a vacuum is just sanding. And for hooking that up to a palm sander, 8 meters per second is gonna be just fine. It's gonna be able to pull all that very fine particulate up through the hose, all the way down through the system, and it's not going to get clogged. So there is one more thing about dust collection that I really never see anybody talking about. So if you buy the right vacuum, you buy the right hoses, you hook everything up perfectly, you use an anemometer to test everything perfectly, it's all working right, and you're still getting dust flying all around your shop, it might not be your dust collection system. There's a really good chance it's just your equipment, such as this is my Ryobi job site table saw. Now I have nothing against this. It does really, really well for what it is. The same thing goes for my Ryobi miter saw. Both of these machines were built for weekend hobbyists. They were not meant to be professional grade used on job sites or in cabinetry shops. So things like dust collection was not the top priority of these. For example, the Ryobi table saw has slots in the plastic guard right here where you can see the blade right in there. So as it's cutting, sawdust is going to be flying out of here. It's not meant for that professional grade dust collection. Same thing with the Ryobi miter saw. Where the dust port is right here, it's a huge gap. It's not airtight. So that just shows no matter what kind of vacuum you get or how much plumbing you do or how much testing you do, if your equipment isn't set up to do 100% dust collection, you're gonna have dust flying around your shop no matter what. It's just one of those trade-offs that if you're not gonna spend thousands of dollars on professional grade equipment, you're gonna have some flaws or some shortcomings when it comes to certain areas. And dust collection is one of those areas. But now with that said, I still think this is 100% worth it. And I think everybody should do it. It's going to keep everything cleaner. It's going to keep your house cleaner, your garage cleaner, your shop cleaner, wherever you have your setup done. Do this. It only takes a day and it's really not that expensive. The blast gates were the most expensive part at $15 a piece. And that really depends on how much equipment you have and how much blast gates you're going to need. But even if you don't do the whole dust collection system, if you don't do the whole plumbing and everything, I still strongly suggest you get a little remote like this. Ah, so cool.